I never imagined my Sunday morning would unravel into the kind of chaos that ends with squad cars in my driveway. Especially ironic, considering I'm the one who usually commands them. But that's exactly where I found myself, because Karen from the HOA decided her son had the right to drive my truck. Spoiler alert, he didn't. It all began like any other quiet morning. I stood in my driveway, coffee in hand, soaking in the rare peace my suburban neighborhood offered. My pride and joy, a cherry-red 2020 Ford F-150, gleamed under the sunlight, spotless as always. I treat that truck better than some people treat their own homes. The plan for the day was simple: knock out some paperwork at the station, pick up groceries, and maybe catch a game before the week kicked off. Calm, predictable, ordinary. And then, Karen happened. You know the type. Heels sharp enough to puncture concrete, a designer handbag swinging like a pendulum of judgment, and a stride that screamed authority she never earned. She marched straight toward my driveway, chin lifted, gaze locked on my truck like it was a prize she was entitled to. Then came the question, "Can he drive it?" she asked, gesturing toward her teenage son with a smile that was all sugar and control. For a moment, I honestly thought I misheard her. Because no sane person just walks up and asks to borrow a police chief's truck for their kid. But Karen wasn't just anyone. She was infamous in our HOA, self-appointed enforcer, serial complainer, and master of turning molehills into mountains. And now, apparently, she wanted to turn my driveway into a courtroom. I smiled politely, though my patience thinned instantly. "No," I said simply. Firm, respectful, final. "This is my personal vehicle, and I'm not comfortable letting him drive it." You'd think that would have been the end of it. But with Karen, no is just the start of a power struggle. Her face hardened. The smile vanished, replaced by a glint of outrage. Then, like clockwork, she whipped out her phone and raised it like a sword. "I'm calling the cops," she declared, her voice echoing down the street as if she'd just caught a criminal in the act. The irony hit me before I could even respond. "I am the cops, the police chief, the one who usually takes these kinds of calls. The one who talks people down, not the one standing at the center of their drama." Yet there I was, watching Karen dial 911 because I wouldn't hand her son the keys to my truck. Tension thickened in the air. Curtains shifted in nearby houses. Neighbors peeked out, eager for the next episode of Suburban Meltdown. Her son, meanwhile, wore that smug teenage look that only comes from being told the world revolves around you. I stayed calm, even as the absurdity of it all built inside me. Years of law enforcement had trained me for armed standoffs, car chases, and high-pressure negotiations. But this was new territory, and just when I thought it couldn't get more ridiculous. The sound of sirens cut through the peaceful morning. At first, I assumed Karen was bluffing. But no, there they were. 2 patrol cars rolling down the street, lights flashing like a parade of misplaced authority. For a moment, I wondered if I was dreaming. I'm the police chief, yet my own officers were pulling up to investigate me. Karen's entire demeanor changed. Her face lit up with triumph, like she'd summoned divine justice to her doorstep. She practically skipped toward the curb, pointing straight at me. "He won't let my son drive his truck. You have to do something," she shouted, waving her phone like it was a royal decree. The officers stepped out, professional but visibly puzzled. I recognized both of them. Good men, solid reputations, but right now, they were caught in one of the strangest calls of their careers. Their expressions said it all. What on earth is happening here? I raised a hand, keeping my tone composed. "Gentlemen, it's fine. There's no crime here." Karen, of course, wasn't done. Her glare sharpened as she stammered out, "He refused. He's the police chief, but that doesn't mean he can just deny my son." Her son smirked beside her, basking in the chaos his mother had created. I could see my officers glancing at each other, unsure whether to intervene or grab popcorn. I needed to end this fast without embarrassing anyone, including my team. "This isn't a legal issue," I said evenly. "This is my personal vehicle. No one has the right to demand access to it. That's the end of it." One of the officers gave a hesitant nod. The other just exhaled slowly. They both knew I was right, but Karen wasn't going to lose gracefully. "Oh, no." She took a defiant step toward my truck, hand outstretched as if she might actually grab the keys from my pocket. I moved forward, placing my hand on the hood, firm but calm. "It's not happening," I said quietly. "Clear, final." Her jaw tightened. Her entire face twisted with disbelief before she finally erupted. "This is abuse of power. I'll be filing a complaint with the HOA and with the city," she snapped, her voice rising to a full-blown tantrum. And that was just the beginning. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Every second I delayed, I knew the situation could spiral, and spiral it did. Because what Karen did next perfectly redefined the word chaotic. It was the kind of move that made me question how peaceful a quiet neighborhood could really be when entitlement meets obsession. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more ridiculous, Karen unleashed her next play, a full-blown performance of suburban outrage. She started loudly reciting every imagined slight she'd ever held against me. Alleged HOA violations, parking infractions, even the time she swore I left my trash bin out too long. Her voice rose higher and higher, every word dripping with manufactured indignation. The street came alive. Neighbors opened their doors, some cautiously peeking through curtains, others standing on porches, phones out and cameras rolling. Karen was putting on a show, and her son, soaking in the attention, decided it was his cue. He tried to climb into my truck, acting like her tantrum had somehow granted him the right to drive it. I stepped in swiftly, placing myself between him and the door. "No," I said firmly, calm but immovable. "You're not driving my truck." The kid froze, his confidence cracking under the weight of a boundary he'd clearly never encountered before. Karen's glare darted around the block, scanning for witnesses to her so-called injustice. Then she raised her phone again toward the officers who were still standing uneasily nearby. "You have to do something! He's refusing! My son! He's being unreasonable!" She shrieked, her voice hitting a dramatic pitch that could have woken the next county. The officers exchanged awkward glances, their discomfort growing by the second. They looked to me for direction, silently asking how to handle the most absurd call of their careers. I took a deep breath and spoke clearly, projecting calm command. "Officers," I said evenly, "there's no violation here. This is my personal vehicle. No one is entitled to operate it without my consent. This call doesn't require enforcement. It's a misunderstanding." Karen gasped audibly, as if the very concept of someone setting a boundary was foreign to her. Then came the muttering, accusations of favoritism, claims of power abuse, rambling nonsense about her rights as a homeowner. Her voice grew louder, more desperate, as if sheer volume could rewrite the law. The air thickened again. Even the birds had gone quiet. The officers, realizing the absurdity of the moment, maintained professionalism but subtly positioned themselves between us, an unspoken buffer zone. Internally, I couldn't help but marvel at the irony. Here I was, a police chief, forced to defuse a situation where an HOA Karen had called the cops on the chief of police, over a truck. And then came the breaking point. Karen's son reached for the door handle again, defiant, desperate, his mother's fury fueling his own. At that moment, I stepped forward. Not aggressively, but with an unmistakable authority that filled the air like a command no one dared disobey. "This ends now," I said. "You will not drive my truck. You will both leave my property." My tone was calm but absolute, the kind of tone that ends arguments before they begin. Karen froze mid-sentence. Her son's hand fell from the door. The officers exhaled in unison, the invisible tension line snapping back into place. For one brief, quiet moment, sanity had won. Boundaries, firm, lawful, and crystal clear, had been restored. But I knew better. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Karen didn't retreat quietly. She stormed to her car, slammed the door hard enough to rattle the frame, and immediately started dialing. One number after another. HOA board members, neighbors, maybe even her lawyer. Her son sat beside her, sulking like a balloon that had just been popped by reality. I just stood there, breathing out the stress, already anticipating the inevitable wave of complaints, exaggerated rumors, and HOA drama headed my way. The officers lingered for a moment, clearly unsure whether to laugh or file a report. They stayed professional but distant, exchanging subtle glances that said everything. This is not a normal day on the job. We shared an unspoken understanding of the absurdity we'd just endured. Within the hour, the digital storm began. My phone buzzed with notifications, text alerts from neighbors, screenshots of Karen's social media posts, and even a few forwarded HOA messages. Her version of the story painted me as a tyrant, abusing authority, terrorizing the neighborhood, and denying a simple request. It would have been laughable if it weren't so frustrating. But in the world of HOA politics, perception often outweighs truth. I knew I had a choice: escalate the matter using my position or let it die down naturally. I chose the latter. Calm, clarity, and professionalism would win this one. I drafted a brief, formal statement. My vehicle is private property. No laws were broken, and all interactions were handled peacefully. I forwarded it to the responding officers for their report and sent a copy to the HOA board. Simple, factual, airtight. No drama. Just truth. By mid-afternoon, the storm started to fade. Karen retreated indoors, likely plotting her next round of complaints. Her son stayed outside for a bit, kicking at the pavement before disappearing inside their house, the weight of reality finally sinking in. Neighbors slowly resumed their routines. A few waved supportively as they passed. Others whispered congratulations for keeping my composure through the madness. I just nodded, grateful it was over. For now. Later, reflecting on the day, I realized something valuable. Boundaries matter. Whether you're a police chief or just a homeowner, the principle stands. Calm, firm authority doesn't need shouting or power. It just needs conviction. Karen could call every officer in the state if she wanted, but no law could override personal property rights or basic decency. And my truck? It stayed exactly where I left it, shining in the driveway untouched. A silent monument to standing your ground without losing your cool. In the end, it became a story that spread through precinct meetings, HOA discussions, and neighborhood gossip alike. A suburban legend of entitlement versus authority, and the strange showdown that proved which one truly holds power. So the next time someone tries to push your boundaries over something as simple as a truck, remember this: calm, clarity, and courage can turn chaos into control. Wow, what a wild ride. If you enjoyed this story and want more insane HOA encounters, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss one. Drop a comment below. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Would you hand over the keys or stand your ground? And don't forget to smash that like button if you believe boundaries still matter. Let's hear your thoughts down below.